Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's time for my spoiler-filled review of Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you want a review without spoilers, click on the link in the description for my spoiler-free review. Other than that, you've been warned, so let's get into it. Our film begins with Deadpool walking through the snow-covered forest that is the location for Logan's grave. He explains that everyone who was worried that this film might desecrate or diminish Wolverine's sacrifice and death at the end of the film Logan were correct to be worried, as he begins to dig up Logan's body because he has a healing factor and does not believe Logan to be dead. But he is, and Deadpool removes the adamantium skeleton and sits down to talk with it in a very comical and kind of Shakespearean way. This is when the TVA shows up. A lot of them. And Deadpool promises not to use his weapons to kill any of them, and then proceeds to use different pieces of Wolverine's skeleton to bash, stab, violate, and outright slaughter every TVA agent around him. It is a bloody scene. It is a graphic scene. At one point, Deadpool is sodomizing a TVA agent with a piece of Logan's adamantium, and it is all done to NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, cutting between Deadpool being as violent as he can be and Deadpool dancing his ass off. It is one of the funniest opening scenes of any movie I've ever seen, and most of the audience could not stop laughing from minute one. Now, at one point, Deadpool stops, and in a voiceover we are told by Wade that we needed to know how this all started, how he got there in the first place. So we flash back to Wade, wearing a toupee, sitting in Happy Hogan's office, interviewing to become an Avenger. Of course, Wade does not make the cut, and he is emotionally defeated by this rejection. So he decides to just retire from superhero duty and work as a used car salesman alongside Peter, who, for some reason, has Deadpool's outfit in his work locker, and he says this is just in case Wade changes his mind. We learn that it is also Wade's birthday and that all of his friends, including Blind Al, Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Yukio, Shatterstar, Buck, and his now ex-girlfriend Vanessa, are waiting for him as a surprise to help him celebrate. Now, for our Blind Al fans, we get Leslie Uggams doing her best in this scene. She and Wade go back and forth about cocaine, mocking Kevin Feige, and the MCU. And just as Wade is about to blow out his birthday candle, there's a knock at the door. Wade answers it. It's a group of TVA agents sent to bring Wade in. At first, Wade mistakes them for hired strippers, and there's a ton of sexually explicit humor, as well as digs at Disney. But the agents are able to grapple with Wade and bring him unconscious to the TVA. Now, if you've never seen Loki seasons 1 or 2, you have no idea who the TVA is, or Time Variant Authority. They are the managing force behind keeping the sacred timeline and all other branch timelines under control, as well as having access to the Void to send problems away. The Void is a garbage heap at the end of the universe. Once something is sent there, it is trapped there forever. Supposedly, therefore preserving the timelines and preventing any unwarranted alternate universes from popping up. Wade wakes up in the TVA and is confronted by Mr. Paradox, who from second one comes off as a douchebag and a villain and quickly proves himself to be one. He explains to Wade that his timeline, his universe will die because the anchor being of that universe died, and every universe has an anchor being. Wade thinks it's him, to which everyone laughs until they tell him it was Wolverine, and since Wolverine is dead, his universe will end as well. Wade, believing that the TVA is going to give him a chance to be a hero and save his universe, is now in full costume after a prolonged suit-up scene that sees his ass slapped and his crotch cupped multiple times, and is prepared to do whatever he can to save his timeline and the people he loves. Mr. Paradox shows him clips of the Avengers, especially Captain America and Thor, and Mr. Paradox tells Deadpool that he can make a difference in another timeline as he is building a Time Ripper, a bomb, to quickly destroy Wade's universe and prove to the higher-ups that the old ways were best. This is why Wade now turns on the TVA, breaks Mr. Paradox's nose, steals a time pad, a device that allows one to go anywhere in time in any universe branch, ends up digging up Logan and fighting the TVA in the opening credits, and since that does not work, Wade goes looking for another Wolverine in another timeline to substitute for the dead one. Here is where you can queue up the montage of every Wolverine variant you can think of. We get Patch on Madripoor, Wolverine on an X crucifix from Uncanny X-Men number 251, Weapon X from Age of Apocalypse, Old Man Logan in a cowboy hat, Brown Suit Wolverine from his original debut in Incredible Hulk number 181, along with the Green Monster himself, all of who send Deadpool packing in some of the most violent manners possible. We also get a 5'3" Wolverine who looks like a munchkin compared to everyone else, a very disturbing and funny visual, and finally, Calvorine. That's right, Henry Cavill as Wolverine, and some beautifully delivered digs at Warner Brothers. Like I said in my original spoiler-free review, no one is safe from ridicule in this movie. This goes on until Wade gets to our main Wolverine variant, a drunkard in a bar, the one we've all seen a million times in the trailers, and this Wolverine passes out and Wade drags him back to the TVA after realizing that Wolverine is still wearing his classic yellow suit underneath his clothes. Mr. Paradox tells Wade he's crazy because it does not work that way, and besides, of all the Wolverines, this is the worst one that let his entire team down, his entire planet down. He is a complete failure, and the two of them get pruned into the void. Wade wakes up on the ground, a copy of Secret Wars next to him, as Wolverine Wolverine comes up to him, digs his claws into his sides, and the fight begins. And here's the thing about this film. One thing that I'll point out that is either brilliant or a downer. You can decide. As this first, most anticipated fight begins between Logan and Deadpool, you have a choice to make. Either watch the fight, which is incredible, every fight sequence in this movie is, or you can look at the foreground and the background hunting for Easter eggs and cameos. The two obvious Easter eggs here are a variant of Thor's helmet and a variant of Captain America's shield, or the broken Fox logo that is in the background. This fight goes on for a few minutes to the soundtrack of AC/DC's Hell's Bells, kind of a callback to Iron Man, until a mysterious stranger shows up to tell them that in the void, they don't fight each other. This hooded figure sticks out an arm, and there are familiar red, white, and blue rings on his forearm, and his voice, unmistakably Chris Evans. And he does the most perfect superhero landing, only to reveal that this is not Captain America, this is Johnny Storm. But before they can go, a caravan of vehicles shows up, and we get to see Toad, Pyro, and Sabretooth, all the originals from the Fox X-Men franchise. Johnny Storm goes full flame on and attacks Pyro, who easily absorbs his heat until Johnny self-extinguishes and falls to the ground. Wolverine and Sabretooth face off, and this fight pays off a line from X-Men Origins Wolverine. When Sabretooth asks Logan, "Do you even know how to kill me?" and Logan tells his brother that he's going to kill him by cutting off his head, and this is exactly how it goes down in the film. Then Wade and Logan are captured by a giant magnet, and along with Johnny are transported to the giant dead Ant-Man corpse. During the ride, Johnny explains how Cassandra Nova is in charge in the void, and that there's a small resistance fighting her. We see Red Skull's car, the Fantastic Four's hovercraft, a few Hydra tanks and vehicles. Half buried in the dirt, you can see the Milano, Star-Lord ship from the first Guardians film. Throughout the entire film, you can see vehicles and buildings from the entire Fox and Marvel Cinematic Universe if you look close enough. Now, as we enter the Fortress of the Dead Ant-Man, we get cameos from a multitude of Fox-era mutants, including Lady Deathstrike, Azazel, the Russian from 2004's Punisher, Juggernaut from X-Men 3, and of course our villain Cassandra Nova, played by Emma Corrin, who steals every scene she's in. Deadpool begins to lie about what Johnny said to them about Cassandra, basically giving a false statement full of the most creative insults I've ever heard in a long, long time. And even though Johnny protests all of this and Wolverine stands there looking absolutely dumbfounded that Wade would do this to Johnny, Cassandra is heard enough and reveals the magnitude of her power, removing Johnny's flesh so that his organs splash to the ground and his bones collapse into a pile, and I couldn't stop laughing. Cassandra then easily removes Wolverine from the situation, burying him underground with a stroke of a finger, and then plunges her hand into Deadpool's head, another disturbing image, and extracts his thoughts. For those of you who don't know, Cassandra explains that she is the twin sister of Charles Xavier and that she has been in the void since a very young age, sent there by the TVA, who have a tacit agreement with her about how she stays and rules in the void, and they provide her resources. Cassandra informs Deadpool that rent is due and that Eliath is the rent collector and that he and Wolverine are the payment. Now, Eliath is the beast at the end of time in the void who cleans up the void, vacuuming up variants and alternates into oblivion. Not just death, but ceasing to exist on any level or any plane. He comes in the form of a giant dragon head attached to a black and purple cloud, and as he attacks Cassandra's base looking for his payment, Wolverine finds a Sentinel's leg and activates it with Deadpool in tow, and they launch into the atmosphere, landing miles away. This is where we get the diner scene so prevalent in the trailers, and yes, it's Joe's Diner from the original Spider-Man franchise, and besides some interesting bonding between the two heroes here, not much happens until they're back outside trying to figure out how to get back home. This is when Dogpool arrives and Wade immediately falls in love with him, but he has an owner. Nice Pool, basically Deadpool, looking like Ryan Reynolds with long flowing hair and constantly being extremely polite and accommodating. Through Nice Pool, Wade and Logan acquire a Honda Odyssey and begin driving to the outlands of the void to find the resistance that Johnny Storm talked about. But before any of this happens, Wade takes a liking to Nice Pool's gold-plated guns and asks if he can have them, to which Nice Pool says only if he dies, and I'm sure that won't come back to haunt him anytime later. Nice Pool also makes them aware of the Deadpool Corps, which is inferred as a large group of Deadpool variants in the void who are outright murderous and should be avoided at all costs. Now, as the road trip gets on its way, Logan drives as Deadpool sits on the passenger seat, annoying him. Now, the only reason Logan is still with Deadpool is because Deadpool promised Logan that he could get him back to the TVA and force them to fix his world where all the X-Men were killed. However, during this road trip, Deadpool lets it slip that this is not exactly a sure thing. He was just making an educated wish, which enrages Logan as he pulls over and an epic fight ensues between the two within the confines of the Honda Odyssey. This is a prolonged fight and is probably the most well-executed and best choreographed choreographed fight in the entire film. And as day turns to night, the fight continues, and then as the sun comes up, we see Logan asleep inside the minivan, next to Deadpool, who is also asleep and wrapped up in the seatbelt like a mummy. A stranger approaches the minivan, and we only see their combat boots, and steals the vehicle with the two still inside. We switch gears at this point, and Mr. Paradox is communicating with Pyro to conspire to eliminate Cassandra Nova, Deadpool, and Wolverine, but this scene doesn't last long as we get back to Wolverine and Deadpool waking up in an unknown underground lair. Deadpool appears to be sleeping in the Hulk's bed from Thor Ragnarok. Meanwhile, Wolverine is drinking heavily with liquor that he found. Here is where we get some of our bigger cameos. In walks Jennifer Garner's Elektra, Wesley Snipes' Blade, who got the biggest pop from my audience, followed by Channing Tatum's Gambit, a character and actor who never got out of pre-production hell, but was supposed to be a thing back in the Fox days, and then the person who kidnapped Wade and Logan arrives. It's Laura. It's X-23. The group devises a plan to attack Cassandra's Ant-Man fortress the next morning, and all but Logan are in. It takes X-23 to convince Logan that he is a hero and that he should be part of this plan, and that it won't work if he's not there. Using the Honda Odyssey, the group races toward Cassandra Nova's. The plan is to steal Juggernaut's helmet because, like Magneto's, it can block Cassandra's telekinesis, allowing her to be eliminated. The group banters about some lines about multiple variants of multiple characters when Wesley Snipes delivers the best insult of the film when he stands up, rocket launcher in hand, and declares that there is only one Blade and there only ever will be, and I couldn't agree with him more. This, of course, is in reference to the Blade film that has been under constant delay and setbacks for years now and stars Mahershala Ali. The group invades the fortress and attacks Cassandra's army. Every cameo gets a moment to shine, but it is X-23 who slices off Juggernaut's feet, giving her the chance to get his helmet. Meanwhile, Wade and Logan are up in Ant-Man's skull with Cassandra. Wade is quickly taken out, then Logan is incapacitated as Cassandra shoves her fingers into his brain, and we finally see the aftermath of Logan's pain, the cemetery for all the X-Men he turned on and the humans he killed as he let his animal side loose. Now, just when you think Cassandra is able to turn Wolverine to her side, Logan looks at her and tells her no. Deadpool is awake, X-23 has delivered to him the helmet, and he places it on Cassandra's head, rendering her inert. But before they can force her to get them out of the void and back to the TVA, Pyro enters and shoots Cassandra multiple times in the chest and stomach. Logan, now coming to the realization of what it means to be an X-Men, convinces Wade to let Cassandra go because Charles Xavier would not allow her to die this way, and he did not want to do anything that would disrespect his memory. Wade gives in to Logan's request and removes the helmet. Cassandra's powers return and allow her to heal, and she gives Logan and Wade a sling ring from a visiting magician that she killed. It could have been Doctor Strange, it could have been Wong, it could have been anybody. We are never told. She then uses it to open up a portal back to Wade's world, but Cassandra is only stalling at this point. After Wade and Logan leave, she tortures Pyro for information about Mr. Paradox, learns about the Time Ripper, and wants to use it to destroy all of the universes, leaving only the Void for her to rule it. Wade and Logan run into Mr. Paradox, and he lets them know that his team are already in the subway with the device, and it's ready to be set off. Cassandra enters through the same sling ring portal, breaks Pyro's neck, sends Wolverine and Deadpool flying as she takes control of Mr. Paradox, and enters the subway to alter the device with her own significant powers. She has ensured that she will not be disturbed because in her wake is the Deadpool Corps to stand against Wade and Logan. First out of the portal, Dogpool, who lovingly reunites with Wade, followed by Nicepool. After that, Lady Deadpool, played by Blake Lively, and Cowboy Deadpool, played by Matthew McConaughey, lead a legion of 100 Deadpools out into the street. Every variant you can think of is there. Samurai Deadpool, Zombie Deadpool, Head Deadpool, Baby Deadpool, Kidpool. Our Deadpool hands Dogpool to Wolverine while he stands in front of Nicepool, who has his back to the Deadpool Corps, who open fire and end up shredding Nicepool. Deadpool asks him how long it takes for him to regenerate, to heal, to which Nicepool says, "Heal?" This confirms to Wolverine that Deadpool is God's perfect idiot, as Deadpool uses Nicepool as a human shield, and he takes about 100 bullets to the body and one that blows off his head. Now, even though the Deadpool Corps shot Nicepool and killed him, no one wants to shoot at Wolverine because he's still carrying Dogpool, and who wants to shoot a dog? And as well, on the bright side, Deadpool now has the gold pistols. Wolverine and Deadpool confront the Deadpool Legion, and in one long extended take, they decimate the group, only to get to the end and realize these Deadpools actually regenerate. This scene literally swims in blood and violence, and God forgive me, is friggin' hilarious. Just as Wolverine and Deadpool are now surrounded by the regenerated Deadpool Corps, a new Deadpool arrives on a bicycle, and he has a dad bod. It's Peter, and the rest of the Deadpools rejoice in this because every Deadpool has a Peter, and they listen to him, letting Wolverine and Deadpool go. That's right, Peter becomes the real hero at this point. Wolverine and Deadpool confront Mr. Paradox in the subway, who tells him that someone can stop the universe's destruction by creating a conduit between the matter and antimatter flowing through the Time Ripper. Meanwhile, Cassandra Nova is altering the bomb's makeup to include the entire time tree. Wolverine volunteers to sacrifice himself and become the conduit. Deadpool does not allow this and locks Wolverine out because Wade understands now that being a hero is about sacrifice and doing what others need you to do, not what you need to do for yourself. But this is a buddy flick. Wolverine breaks into the bomb chamber, joins hands with Deadpool, helps to absorb the energy and send it back to Cassandra, who is spaghettified, and the timelines are saved and they all recover. Mr. Paradox is confronted by B-15 from the Loki series because I guess she's in charge of the TVA now. He tries to talk his way out of it, thinking that Logan and Wade are dead, killed in the blast, but they emerge with very little damage. Mr. Paradox is arrested. Wade and Logan have Schwarmer, of course a callback to the Avengers. Dogpool remains with Wade, as does Logan, who introduces him to Blind Al, who only cares if Wade is holding because she's shaken like an angry vibrator. Our final scene of the film is all of Wade's friends from the opening scene, the opening birthday party, reuniting for another get-together. And of course, Logan is there, X-23 is there, other characters are there from the Void. Wade seems to reconcile with Vanessa, and there seems to be a happy ending, and there endeth the film. There are two post-credit items. The first is a montage of behind-the-scenes looks at the Fox Marvel universe that started in 2000, set to the song Time of Your Life by Green Day. It is something really special to look back on, and I really enjoyed watching it. The other post-credit scene is Deadpool proving to the world that it was Johnny Storm who originally badmouthed Cassandra Nova, which led to his brutal demise. Here we get about a minute-long clip of Chris Evans just spewing every horrible thing that could be said about Cassandra Nova in every possible way. It has no bearing on anything, but it is a funny way to end it all and leave the theater. And that's it. Deadpool and Wolverine, for me, one of my favorite superhero films of all time. There is criticism of this film from others that it is slow at times. Now, someone please let me know when that was. Sure, the story slows down in a few places because that's called pacing. You can't be going 100 miles per hour all the time, or else there is no heightened stakes when you need them. Tension needs to build, so I respectfully disagree with those criticisms. Some say it is not rewatchable because the cameos won't have the same impact. Well, to that, I say this film is immensely rewatchable because the chemistry between Jackman and Reynolds is as good as it gets between any two actors, and their execution of their roles is perfect. That makes for an entirely rewatchable event. Funny enough, some of these same criticisms came from critics online who admit that they have already seen the film twice. Yeah, logic, I know, it's hard sometimes. Another criticism is that the villain is not good enough. To that I say to these people, what the hell have you been watching and what are you talking about? Of all the Marvel villains, minus Thanos, Cassandra Nova may be one of the best executed of them all. Bottom line is this: event movies for Marvel are no longer a thing. This, however, this film is an event, a cinematic event that must be seen in theaters with others because there is cheering, there is applause, there is laughter, and not since No Way Home have I been in a theater with that kind of experience. Will it save the Marvel Universe? This film does not care about the Marvel Universe, nor does it give the impression that it wants anything to do with saving the Marvel Universe. This may be just a one-off film, something we never see again. Maybe until Secret Wars, when Marvel pays everyone from RDJ to Chris Evans to Scarlett Johansson to return for a cameo and an on-screen death. But that is years away and not guaranteed, especially if Marvel cannot start to reboot itself and bring back the fan base it lost. Deadpool and Wolverine, they are not here to do that heavy lifting, and in the end, they shouldn't have to. This film was about the genuine joy of celebrating the original superhero cinematic universe and making sure that before we continue with the current one we have, we pay our respects to the one that came before. And that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Have you seen this film? Where do you rate it? What was your favorite cameo? And if you want more pop culture fun, click on the thumbnails at the end of this video for my movie review and movie ranking playlist, as well as my retro movie review playlist. And if you did like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out each week. I thank you for watching, and remember, I'm still your reluctant gringo, and from south of the border, salute and a huevo.